Technologies change the way people shopping, watching movie, ordering food, and now financial technologies is changing the way people make payment, which killed traditional banking. Today, Thammasat University from Thailand will ensure that FinVolution, the financial technology, will not kill the traditional, but will assist them to compete in disruptive environment. สวัสดีครับ
FinVolution Group is a leading fintech platform in China, connecting underserved individual borrowers with financial institutions. We have developed a strong innovative technologies and have accumulated in-depth experience in the core areas of credit risk assessment, fraud detection, big data, and artificial intelligence. Established for over 13 years, FinVolution was a pioneer as a P2P lending platform in China. Now, we have more than 108 million users, covering over 97% of Chinese cities, and achieved over 98% customer satisfaction rate. However, in response to the change in government regulation, we had to shift from P2P to a fintech platform between financial institutions and individual borrowers instead. With extensive experience from Chinese market, but being limited our business opportunities by government regulation, it's time for FinVolution to explore in the new market. But the next key question is, where should we go? So to identify the most attractive market, we see that Indonesia's fintech industry is one of the most competitive and dynamic in ASEAN, as evidenced by the emergence of 4 unicorns and 1 decacorn in the industry. Compared to Chinese market, Indonesia fintech is growing significantly. Smartphone adoption is 60% and the government support in the fintech industry as well. So we see that Indonesia is an opportunity for us to enter as it's becoming a digital economy like China. Now, the next key question is, how should we go? So let's take a step back and look into our own strength. We have an expertise in the peer-to-peer lending. We know the process and how to facilitate both parties. Second, we have capabilities in the integrating technologies in our loan activities such as AI, blockchain, and big data. Lastly, we have a deepened relationship with a financial institution, including the one in Indonesia as well. Therefore, to enter the Indonesian market successfully, we need to capitalize on our own strengths. Next, to select the right fintech opportunities that align with our capabilities, these are the criteria that we must consider: competitive intensity, ease of implementation, our expertise, and last is the financial impact. After evaluating, we see that P2P lending and the crowdfunding are the most lucrative for us to tap into. Now, to optimize our technology enabler, we see that it is necessary for our company to first have a big data for the local user as large as possible in order to train our machine learning and AI to accurately analyze the trend and pattern of Indonesian users. Then we can launch the financial product offering that's suitable to the customers. So we see that by offering the peer-to-peer lending, we will be able to build a strong foundation in data collection. Once the data is collected, the company is ready to launch the existing services such as credit risk assessment, risk management to financial institution, and a new product offering such as the crowdfunding. Therefore, we have come up with 2 strategies for FinVolution to grow successfully in Indonesia. First, to collect them all, launching the P2P lending service to collect local data. Second, extend for more, introducing technology as a service solution and introduce crowdfunding feature.
To be able to establish the strong footprints in Indonesia, as an AI integrated solutions, local data is a very important foundation to strengthen companies' capabilities and grow successfully in Indonesia markets. But how to acquire such a large amount of data of consumer aspect to enhance AI capability? Looking at the consumer finance situations in Indonesia, that consists of banked and non-bank customers with a ratio of 40-60. All faces different pain points. Bank customers demand for better lending service, which are competitive fee and greater convenience and enhancement in their credit scoring. On the other hand, non-bank customers don't have enough credit to access to capital from the first place. Despite the different pain points that they have, what they share in common is that these people have dreams. For example, millennial workers may want to quit their jobs and start a business right away. Students may have the dream to graduate from the field they love and be able to pay their expensive tuition fee along the way. Even non-bank customers like farmers also have the dream to own their own piece of land and continue their career with sustainability. So this indicates the opportunities for lending service to help these customers fulfill their dream. So this dream will only remain as their fantasy with their inabilities to acquire loan. On the accessibility aspect, a lot of documents are required. Geographic accessibility is also another challenge facing in Indonesia. Moreover, limited financial capabilities also prevent them to seek for funding as they need for collaterals and unavailable credit history. However, with peer-to-peer lending platform, these barriers can be break and customers in Indonesia can have their dream fulfilled with enough funding. With our P2P license on hand from OJK, Finvolutions can immediately leverage their Finvolutions platform to penetrate into the market. Finvolutions will act as the gathering midpoint between borrower to access the capital from individual lender. To mitigate the potential default risk in these lending transactions, Finvolutions will also analyze customer credit, match borrower with the right lender, digitize the debt collection process, and collect the borrower data to help them establish the credit history. Borrower with bank accounts can pass through the normal lending process. For non-bank customers, group lending will be utilized to diversify the risk of individual lenders. So with these models, borrowers, apart from access to capital, can finally establish their credit histories and enhance their credit scoring. Lenders will receive fee and interest. And lastly, Finvolutions, the platform itself, will gain financial benefits and most importantly, local data about consumer finance to train their AI capabilities. So for successful implementations of Finvolutions in Indonesia, they need to acquire data from the right source, process through the right technologies capabilities, and acquire customers, both lenders and borrowers in the right channels. So for data acquisitions, on the borrower side, certain required data are needed to identify the identity of them and come up with the right credit scorings based on the comprehensive aspect of the customers and indicate specific preference for better user engagement. On the lender side, we also need information to identify the users and assess their capabilities to provide loan. So these data can be acquired by asking directly from the customers, or we can integrate with other sources like social medias or e-wallet. So after gaining right aspect and right amount of data, for technology's capabilities, the capabilities need to establish successful peer-to-peer lending platform we already have on hand, as you can see from the magic mirrors to bright mirrors. And for the user interface, the company can leverage on the current Finvolutions app and web to penetrate into the market. With peer-to-peer lending service on hand, to let the potential lenders and borrowers know about this and scale this initiative with a networking effect, to bank lenders and borrowers, we can use social media channel like Facebook, which is very popular in Indonesia, and bank to reach these target borrowers. And apart from just posting pictures with no engagement, Finvolutions can launch the referral platform programs among users to encourage adoptions, use financial KOLs to establish the successful case studies, and use Fulfill Your Dream campaigns to make this even go viral to let the customers share about their dreams on the social media platform. And for the unbanked borrowers, with group lending service, Finvolutions can target local cooperatives, community associations, or even use mom and pop shops to establish agents to teach them on how to use our service. So with strong peer-to-peer platform that Finvolutions have in Indonesia, the company can now acquire a large amount of local data on many aspects of the consumer finance to train their analytics capabilities, which allow them to improve the accuracy and better localize into the market. The strong AI capabilities will allow Finvolutions to strengthen their core competency, which this can be leveraged to capture more opportunities in Indonesia, which my colleague will elaborate about this further. Lastly, these Finvolutions will also make the company reach their end goal of financial inclusion, making the smile to everybody from bank to non-bank. And with our blockchain data and other current security procedure, we can ensure to secure the sensitive information of these customers.
Okay, so now that machine learning has been trained, our AI is ready to generate service with Extend for more. This is a rapid rise in financial technology, and currently, fintech ecosystem is filled with 167 fintech players in the market, while they are able to convince over 50% of the adult to adopt the platform. We see that this is a big disruption to the financial institution like bank, that the market share was eaten by the fintech startups. So bank will need to start making a move. So many banks in Indonesia are investing heavily in technology, digital platform, and transformation. But these banks are big firms, and they are transforming the firm with more than 60,000 employees, which cause them to transform very slowly. And they are not able to cope up with innovative market. And banks are losing the customer loyalty as their competitors are offering faster and more convenient on offering, which now it is more difficult for banks to capture new customers. With these problems banks are facing, we foresee the opportunity to help provide the service with our strength. We are able to offer them the technology as a service, which we have experience with the banks in China already. We have readiness of our AI technology and data collection from peer-to-peer lending, while we are also the financial technology that are willing to provide the solution for banks. So the key question becomes, how can we best leverage on the strength to penetrate in Indonesian market with high sustainability? First, we want to introduce Finvolution Bank Service Solution, which we will offer them the technology as a service with our current product, which will help draw the risk control system. However, the customer data will be more localized, while we have a broader data analysis about the customer. So we will be able to analyze them even faster and more in depth. And the broader data, we will be able to provide them a unique analysis and have a faster loan approval. And with AI technology, we'll be able to explore more alternative service. For instance, the customer who have a low credit, bank no longer have to reject them, but they can provide the partial loan according to their credit rate to still ensure that we can still provide them certain amount of loan. With this, bank will be able to increase their transaction while capturing more customers and find wider service cater to the customer data, such as suggesting InsurTech to the customers. But there are still more opportunities to capture in Indonesia, as we recognize that the opportunity for the new product and that can collaborate with the banks. We see that there are over 64 million SMEs that account for more than 95% of all business in Indonesia, and there are more than 44,000 startups in the Indonesian market. While we recognize that these small business, they have stages of raising the fund. First, being the seed capital, where they're using their money, using family money and all this stuff. Second, crowdfunding. Third, angel investor. Fourth, venture capital. Fifth is the bank loan. Lastly is IPO. So currently, SMEs and startups are getting only 20% of all loan provided for the business. As they are still small, they have no stable income and therefore no proper growth rate and no valuation for their company, which this become the biggest barrier for the SMEs to reach the bank loan, while the banks are not able to capture them as the customer as well. So we recognize that crowdfunding become the biggest opportunity here. As statistically, there are less competition as there are only 3% share in the fintech industry, and there are more positive factors such as government support, trend that crowdfunding then can complement with banks, or culture that they usually say gotong royong, meaning working together as a community, which makes the crowdfunding become the key insight that Finvolution and banks should capture to obtain our new customers. We will be a crowdfunding feature that partner with banks, connect with small business who are looking for alternative for accessing the funding. And we will source and collect the funds, not just from banks, but also wider community to help the bank diversify the risk and help fulfill the funds small business need to expand their business or cultivate their business to the community. So this is an illustration of the platform for the small business to see the return on project timeline or amount of fundraise and many other that our AI technology can help generate. Now, we can see that bank will be able to capture more customers in different segments and able to retain some business that have potential growth and cross-selling opportunities. And we have listed the top banks that we, as our potential partnership together with our AI usage, we'll be able to provide them the solution for banks to compete and defeat with the disruption. Now, on our future outlook, then after the banks are able to survive in the new environment, we foresee that these two recommendations can be duplicated for other international expansion. For P2P, it will help us gather the customer data, which will help them train the machine learning to specialize in the local area. Then it will allow our AI generation to offer the technology as a service to banks as the solution to compete with fintech and more localized product offering. Now, and Finvolution will be able to reach the vision of becoming IT company with financing over code in the future.
So now, let's ensure the smooth implementation and financial impact. If our two strategies are successfully implemented, we will be able to reach three key impacts. First, by launching the P2P lending service, we expected additional 8 million active users on our platform. Moreover, by introducing technology as a service and crowdfunding feature, we expected additional 5 banks partner, along with seeing the non-bank contribution reduced from 60 to 52% in Indonesia. We have also constructed the timeline for the first recommendation, collect them all. Because we understand that cost optimization is important, we decided to utilize our existing platform from China to expand internationally by implementing the platform transformation by getting the API and technology infrastructure ready for the international scale. Then we will start launching our platform along with market penetration and data collection process, which is the heart of this industry. For the second recommendation, extend for more, we see that most important key enablers for us are bank and OJK. Therefore, we will start right away sourcing and partnering with potential banks. We will also apply for the OJK licensing approval and in order to operate in the crowdfunding platform in Indonesia. And in the later stage, we will have the data sharing with banks, transferring business to formal loan, and to have more cross-selling opportunity with banks as well. In terms of financial impact, we calculated the revenue projection, which we expected the total revenue to reach 13.7 billion yuan in 2024, under the key drivers of increasing number of users and user spending on both of the platform of P2P lending service and crowdfunding platform. We also constructed the cost estimation. In the first year, capital expenditure is expected to be 100 million yuan, driven from platform transformation, R&D, and partnership costs. The operational expenditure contribution, we also changed from an increase in sales and marketing expenses from the customer acquisition strategies. All of this will be funded by cash on hand, internal generated fund, short-term and long-term debt. Lastly, to strengthen the home that was built from our two recommendations, we also constructed risk and mitigation plan. We see that the highest risk for the first recommendation is lower than expected market adoption for P2P lending service, which we can mitigate by strengthening our customer acquisition strategy and to find a local partnership for better penetration in the market. For the second recommendation, the highest risk is the inability to partner with bank, which can be mitigated by improving our value proposition in partnership, and also to source additional partner for better bargaining power. So ladies and gentlemen, what have we done today? We have penetrated the Indonesian market using two strategies. Our first strategy aimed to collect local data in order to optimize our core competency in AI and machine learning by launching the P2P lending service that is cost efficient due to its utilization of existing platform from China. Our second strategy aims to utilize data that we have collected from the first strategy in order to serve our existing service to financial institutions and to also introduce the crowdfunding features, which is very suitable for Indonesian market landscape. By the end of our two strategies together, we believe that Finvolution will be able to successfully penetrate Indonesian market and capture the heart of customer. Thank you for your kind attention, and it is our honor today to represent Thammasat and Thailand. Thank you.
Thank you, students. So thank you for your presentation. It's now time for the Q&A session. Judges, let's hear your first question.
Hi, thanks team. Thanks for the presentation. Just curious, in terms of the credit rating of the borrowers, who is responsible to determine whether or not we should or should not lend to the borrower based on this? Is it the company here or the end lenders? So going back to your chart in terms of
Okay, so based on the peer-to-peer lending platform that we have, so I think we have a very strong technologies capabilities in order to analyze the credibilities of the borrowers, but we're going to supply the lenders with the information that they need, and it will be the lenders who are going to approve whether they will lend to these customers or not. But we will provide the technologies capabilities in order to ensure them the credibilities of this borrower, as well as match them with the right lender with the right risk preference.
Got it. So so are you saying then who bears the loss in your model here? So if the borrower defaults, who loses? Is it the lender or is it FinVolution?
Okay, so I think it will be the lenders because of like we trying to supply them with the informations and stuff. But at the same time, as we also partner with banks and also have our own funding, so maybe we can support them to even ensure them to have the confidence to lend the money in our platform.
All right, thank you. And in terms of your capex, the 3.2 billion RMB, is that a yearly cost or is it an initial stage that was quoted?
In terms of operational expenditure?
Yeah, so this is a yearly cost or how much it costs initially, the 3.2 billion?
Correct. So the initial cost was around 3 billion yuan, but this is the yearly cost. Correct.
This is the yearly. Okay, so it's the initial cost is how much? Sorry.
100 million yuan.
Oh, okay, on the left, 100 million. Okay, got it.
Okay. I would like to go back to your P2P the proposition. I am just wondering, you're saying that the final decision will be by the lender. You'll be providing information and do the matching for the lender and the borrower. Now, if you are not, I'm not sure what you are trying to provide to the lender. If ultimate decision is made by the lender, are you making a recommendation for them to lend or not? Number one. Number two is, you mentioned in the beginning of your opening when you say that there is actually a pretty competitive landscape in Indonesia with a lot of fintech going on. So why FinVolution and not other fintechs?
Okay, so maybe I will address your first questions first in terms of like our lenders. So what we provide them is definitely the fee and interest that they will gain from lending these monies to the borrowers. And at the same time, with our AI capabilities and technologies capabilities, we can also analyze the credit scorings of the potential borrowers to give the information and also recommendations to lend or not lend to these lenders to make them ease their implementation process. And also in terms of why it have to be FinVolutions in terms of our peer-to-peer lending platform. Right now, peer-to-peer lending platform is a very nascent state in Indonesia. Like there are a lot of players trying to compete for OJK license, and we're like we can now gain the license right now, but the process to gain the license for other players is a very long time. So with us that have the license on hand, we can leverage these capabilities to enter this market right away. And we also see that we are not just only lend them and give them access to capital, but we're also trying to establish the credit histories for them to really bring this non-bank to the system. So I think we offer them much more than other peer-to-peer lending service.
Yes, and allow me to add on a little bit. Because we have a core community of having a security and data security, we are able to ensure that we can use our existing technology to give the lender a security to ensure those safety area. But moreover, we think that we have the experience in China before. We used to use peer-to-peer in China already. So therefore, by us penetrating into Indonesian market, we have more experience and we are able to deliver a better experience to the lender as well. Yeah.
Thank you.
I would like to add on the competitive landscape on the regarding the second question. Even though I have mentioned that in the Indonesian market is very saturated in terms of fintech industry, but highway is still in the booming state. And we see that these are the trends that are going on now in the Indonesian market. However, when we look into the e-wallet or even though of the pay now, pay later or cash card, that is now very popular in the Indonesian market with the customer adoption and other competitive intensity. We see that a lot of major players like local giant like Gojek or GoPay or Oye, they are playing in the e-wallet market and they have offering a very variety of business unit in the fintech industry. So we see that for the e-wallet, buy now, pay later or cash card are very dominated by the local player. Moreover, not only local player, but also the Grab or Alibaba that have already entered into this market. But however, what we see is that P2P lending and the crowdfunding, they are still not major players have not been dominating. The P2P lending right now, the players just have 45 players. And we are sort of one of them that got the license already. So we see that P2P lending is an opportunity for us. Now for the crowdfunding, it has only 3% market share, 3% in the fintech industry in Indonesia. So we see that this is also our opportunity to play as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, could you elaborate a bit more on the business case in terms of the revenue driver, how to make money under the P2P as well as the crowdfunding proposition? And then how it linked up with the expenses that you just mentioned. Yeah.
All right, thank you for the question. So currently our business model has three revenue sources, major revenue sources. So we have loan facilitation service fee, we have post-facilitation service fee, and also we have the net interest income. So in terms of the loan facilitation service fee, we derive from the transaction value, which is derived from the number of users multiplied by the bank loan users. And then we multiply with the service fee, which is 0.7%, which is aligned with the China fee as well. So with this, we got the loan service fee revenue. In terms of post-facilitation, it derived from the number of users and also the fixed service fee per user of 11 yuan as well. Lastly, in terms of the non-interest income, we derive from the transaction value from earlier and also multiply with the interest rate, which is the annual interest rate of 7.5% and with the average loan tenure of 8.4 months. And with these three revenue sources combined, we are able to come up with the operational expenditure. So in this case, we broken down into orientation and service expenses, which is also the platform maintenance and customer service. We also have the sales and marketing channel, which is derived from the true recommendation of using the agent and also the online marketing. And then thirdly, we also have general and administrative, which is the IT employee and overhead costs. And lastly, we also have provision for doubtful account in case of any NPL happen or any error for fraud detection as well.
Okay, so in your study, what's the existing current operating expense for the China FinVu solution?
All right, so currently the operating expense is around 52% of revenue, which is $2.7 billion, yuan, sorry.
Okay, got you. Thanks.
Maybe a little add-on on the qualitative part. We think that this is really worth it to do P2P because when we talk about AI, our existing AI technology, we need the machine learning in order to drive this AI technology to produce a quality services provided to the market. So with this P2P lending, we'll be able to gather a huge amount of data which can help train the machine learning. So this will be the part that is very valuable in terms of helping building up our value. Yeah.
Any more questions? We still got 5.5 minutes.
Yeah, you might have answered this, but maybe I can just ask this, right? You talked about during your presentation about the possibility of sharing information with banks as you start to get acquire bank as your partners, and you also talked about you will enhance your value proposition to banks. Can you elaborate a little bit on what you mean by value proposition? How do you acquire bank partners?
Yes. Okay. If we want to look at current product that we are offering to the bank in China, let's say, we are able to provide them with the risk control and the fraud detection and all that stuff. So with that, our current value proposition is that we will be able to provide the bank with the more in-depth data, with more localized data that we have collected from P2P lending. Then that will help us give us a value of helping the bank to ensure that they can approve the loan even faster. They can approve the loan with more broader data that used to analyze in terms of a loan approval. It's no longer just a credit rate, but it's more of other factors that can help the bank considering new customers. So with this, they will be able to increase the transaction. But moreover, we think that because we are currently using the AI technology, we have this data in terms of training the machine learning, then it gives us a competitive edge to come up with a new product of using the crowdfunding. Then now we have a good partnership, and then we will use a bank as a partnership into participating into the crowdfunding. Now, this crowdfunding will give us a competitive edge as well in terms of bringing like customers to banks and all that stuff. So therefore, these data will be very valuable for us to compete in the market.
So so your value-added service would be data collected from P2P offering in your first stage when you launch this in Indonesia. How long would that be before you think that you have sufficient data to make it become your value-added service?
All right, so let me take that question first. So in this, in our implementation timeline, we designed the data collection process to be around 1 year. And after that, we will also start launching the AI and our P2P service right away. Even though the data is not 100% completely, we think that it's very important to launch our prototype and even test with the real users. And since we think that the data acquisition is a long-term process that is continuously invest in the long term. So we don't want to wait very long until we launch our service in Indonesia.
Yes, and as we have to just classify the segment of the customers, and as our colleague said that he will be able to gain 8 million active user. We think that with that amount of sample size, we'll be able to classify the sufficient amount of segmentation used to clarify input the data who will have whatever requirement and all that stuff. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry, I might have missed it. For the 8 million acquired users listed, are these the top 20 bank customers, or are these new customers?
Okay, so these are new customers from both bank and non-bank users, and these are the active users as well.
And how long does it take to get to 8 million?
Okay, so in this case, we take 5 years for the 8 million users, and this is only the monthly active users. In terms of the total user, it will actually be 42 million users. And and we use this comparable to the China, because in China we have around 108 million users in total, but only 20 million users that are actually acquired and use the loan service. So we think that this is a comparable comparison. Thank you.
Right. So if you take the 20 million in China, and as of 2019, they generate net revenue of 5.6. I know you've explained the assumptions using the same fees, but your revenue was 10 million. Is that correct? So what's the difference between, because in the 2019 financials, net operating is 4.8, around 5.6 billion. And then here, then, are we saying that the revenue is going to be between 13.7 billion with 8 million of users?
That's correct.
So what's the difference then? Because of 20 million in China gives 5.6 billion of revenue, then 8 million in Indonesia gives 13.7. Is that what we're saying?
8 million in Indonesia give around 3.5.
Oh, okay, 3.5, and then the 10 million is the
best case from China. Our existing.
Oh, okay, so it includes everything. I got it. Understand. Okay.
All right.
Then okay, so if we take 3.5, but the operating expenses you're saying is 3.2, does that then make sense? Because you're saying each year takes 3.2 billion of OPEX, and the best case is only 3.5. So
Time's
only then.
up. Time's up. So thank you all. The judges will now stay in the room for deliberation. Their team will place you in the meeting room and bring you back in the for the feedback session in 8 minutes time. Everyone else, please kindly leave the room and we'll see you later for the results announcement. Thank you.